I'm Brian Conrad, a graduate student at the Raymond A. Mason School of Business at William and Mary. I'm here to provide perspective and potential solutions for addressing instances related to veteran homelessness, unemployment, incarceration, and suicide. This quote from Maria Cuomo Cole sums up the current issue with veterans in the United States. We see a veteran and say, "Thank you for your service," and go on with our day without thinking these veterans, these men and women who have voluntarily served our nation, may be at risk for homelessness, unemployment, incarceration, or even suicide. We must face that some veterans are at risk. Some experience some of life's most troubling and stressful problems. These issues affecting veterans are being addressed. Believe me, good work is being done to help by some fantastic people and organizations. By state government organizations like the Virginia Department of Veteran Services, the federal government through the Veterans Administration, and veteran service organizations. However, it is not enough. Here's why the current solutions are insufficient. According to government data, there are over 37,000 homeless veterans as of January 2020. Even since the late 1980s, veterans have been overrepresented in the homeless population. According to the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics, the unemployment rate among veterans is 3.8%. A 2022 study by the National Criminal Justice System reported over 181,000 veterans in prison or jail in the United States. And sadly, there are over 6,000 veteran suicides annually, according to the Veterans Administration. Because of issues of homelessness, unemployment, incarceration, and suicide persist, this may be symptomatic of a lack of a holistic approach to veteran reintegration. Ensuring that veterans have access to the services they need to effect a smooth transition back into civilian life will relieve some of the stressors associated with the military transition. The goal is to mitigate veteran homelessness, unemployment, incarceration, and the high rate of veteran suicide through successful reintegration into civilian society using a holistic approach. Our nation asks men and women to carry the nation's load when they serve in the military. It is a select few that, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, only 7% of the U.S. population has served in the military to carry this nation's load. When military members leave the service, they also transition, carrying a significant burden associated with their own service. There is a loss of identity of not being a part of the military organization they've identified with over the previous years, and a sense of separation from a family type unit. In some instances, a divorce has occurred. There may be instances of substance abuse. And let us not forget the lingering effects of physical and mental trauma and pain experienced during service. According to information from the American Addiction Centers, emotional precursors may precede suicide events, a sense of loneliness, isolation, hopelessness, and depression. These precursors may be exacerbated in veterans who experience homelessness or unemployment. Military members also bring a sense of resilience and ability to meet challenges head on. Eventually, all service members transition back to civilian society, and we owe it to these men and women to prepare them to be just as successful in civilian life as they were in the military. We also have to understand that veterans have been, in some sense of the word, institutionalized. This institutionalization means that service members have grown accustomed to the cultural norms of the military, which are not the same as in civilian society. I can relate to this. I left the military after 4 years and started my undergraduate studies at the University of Memphis. I found myself in class with other first-year students who had been in high school mere months before. I had difficulty relating to them because of my life experiences in the military culture, and I'm sure they had difficulty relating to me. To reinforce this perspective of institutionalization, a Duke University Fuqua School of Business Study concluded that most employers believe veterans lack the socio-emotional skills to function in the civilian workplace. Ensuring the transition services and processes that veterans receive serve to address all aspects of a veteran's life during the transition out of the military is critical, and that veterans' physical and socio-emotional needs are addressed holistically. To service the 250,000 veterans who leave the military each year, the Veterans Administration developed the Transition Assistance Program, or TAP, which provides information and resources to service members to help prepare for the move from military to civilian life. The Veterans Administration portion of the Transition Assistance Program is focused on helping the transitioning service member navigate Veterans Affairs and the benefits and services earned through their military career. In addition to the Veterans Administration portion of the Transition Assistance Program, each military service component has its own specific requirements for transitioning service members, such as job counseling, resume preparation, and the like. The federal government has even embarked on a comprehensive cross-sector public health strategy to help veterans. Almost every state government has established offices to support veterans. As well, there are over 100 veteran service organizations that the federal government has recognized through the Veterans Administration. Even with the myriad of services and programs available from the Veterans Administration and the service components, a Pew Research study found that roughly only half of veterans felt prepared to transition into civilian life. Additionally, the Veterans Administration found that around 40% of veterans who committed suicide had no contact with VA healthcare providers. These statistics indicate that service members are not appropriately connected to the services they need, or that the services provided are not adequate to prepare service members for transition. A 2019 study presented in American Public Health found that social stress factors such as homelessness, unemployment, marital problems, a lack of access to care, and violence all contributed to veteran suicide. The current Transition Assistance Program is helpful for some aspects of military transition. However, job preparation, resume building, or being connected with educational benefits is not what seems to be missing from service members' transition preparation. What is missing is the lack of preparation to address the socio-emotional requirements of leaving the military. The addition of non-medical counseling enhances current transition help. This proposed solution aims to build upon what the Veterans Administration and the military services are doing regarding the Transition Assistance Program. The additional piece would be to connect transitioning service members to non-medical counseling before getting out of the military, as a required part of the transition process. Non-medical counseling can help alleviate stress that helps service members cope with life changes. Connecting transitioning service members to these non-medical counseling services needs to be reinforced so that service members can take advantage of the resources available on base and through nonprofits to help the service members and veterans through this transitional phase. Non-medical counseling is a missing piece that may be the difference in ensuring that veterans successfully transition back to civilian society without any adverse effects, such as homelessness and unemployment, both of which are precursors to suicide. In military transition information, there is no real mention of the need for transition counseling to address the psychological effects of military service. Additionally, non-medical counseling may help those service members exiting the military more easily reintegrate into civilian society. A quick survey of military service transition programs showed no indication that non-medical counseling was required or encouraged, despite overwhelming evidence that counseling is beneficial during significant life changes. We can certainly consider leaving the military as a significant life change. What is important is that non-medical counseling is effective. Various studies reinforce the effectiveness of non-medical counseling. For example, a RAND Corporation study on military members in non-medical counseling concluded several things. First, participants in non-medical counseling reported overall reductions in problem severity. That is, they could see that problems they were experiencing were not as bad as they perceived. Second, recipients of non-medical counseling maintained they experienced reductions in problem severity over the long run. And moreover, initiating counseling, 70% of individuals experienced a reduction in the frequency of feeling stressed and anxious due to their problems, among other positive outcomes. However, the study also indicated a general lack of awareness of ability of non-medical counseling for military members and their families. Thus, non-medical counseling services do not have the reach they need to impact more service members. Some veterans' transition experiences are just fine with the resources and training provided near the time of separation from the military. However, some veterans have no plans for education, no job lined up, likely no housing, and will be food insecure upon leaving the military. Think about it. In most cases, the military has taken care of the basic needs of service members during their time in. Service members had access to housing, regular meals, health care, job training, and even a paycheck. The fact that basics were provided previously can cause difficulty in transition, precisely the sense of displacement and isolation. Suddenly, when a service member leaves the base for the last time, all of the basic needs provided by the military are not there, and the veteran may be on their own. This proposed solution addresses a subset of veterans needing more preparation to transition into civilian society than others. For veterans needing extra help, the idea with this solution is to give veterans a rest area as they traverse the space from active duties to civilian society and learn and apply the necessary life skills. This solution, this military transition space, is designed to provide veterans with a temporary residential space in proximity to military bases and available associated services. Hence, there is a safe place for veterans to get their bearings and truly prepare to transition to civilian life. This veteran transition space is modeled from the concept of a halfway house, or a temporary space that will enable veterans to reorient onto the next phase of their lives. Studies have shown that halfway houses, as applied in other use cases such as addiction recovery, have success rates between 61% and 93% in reintegrating their populations. These transition spaces would take a holistic approach to address the veterans' needs by leveraging strategic partners to ensure that veterans are connected with the state and federal government benefits they rate. In addition, veterans will have access to advocates and counselors available to help with job skill development, job preparation, and critical non-medical counseling while being provided a safe place to live. These veteran transition spaces would also enable veterans who have successfully transitioned and established their lives in civilian society an opportunity to mentor the next generation of veterans. Veterans are not billed for the services they receive for the most part. These services could be funded through the Veterans Administration. The Veterans Administration budget is derived through annual congressional appropriations. In fiscal year 2023, the government fiscal year between October 1st and September 30th, the Veterans Administration had a budget of over $378 billion, with over $200 billion for benefits programs. Additionally, states could provide some resources through their veteran services programs. Veteran service organizations like the American Legion and Veterans of Foreign Wars could also provide resources. Understanding that there would be an increased demand for services, specifically non-medical counseling, and the cost associated with establishing, staffing, and maintaining the veteran transition spaces, an evaluation of the cost and revenue structure would need to be completed to determine what, if any, costs would be borne by veterans in some cases. How do we measure the impact of veteran transition space? We would expect to see reductions in those statistics I shared earlier, a reduction in veteran homelessness, more veterans with meaningful jobs, fewer veterans incarcerated, and fewer veteran suicides. There are efforts by the federal government, state and local governments, and numerous veteran service organizations to address the issue of veteran suicide, focusing on transitioning from military service to civilian life by providing a holistic approach that includes non-medical counseling and the transition services available is a step in the right direction. For veterans who are leaving the service and transitioning back to a less than ideal life, providing them a place to get their bearings and prepare for life outside the military is just as important. Ensuring that veterans know of the opportunities to obtain the services they need to succeed after the military would be in service to reducing the stressors associated with leaving the military.